Metal Jesus here, and I am back again with my good bud, the immortal John Hancock.
Hey, how's it going?
It's so awesome to have you here.
I love being here.
Now, we are going to talk about something that's pretty cool, and I just recently heard about this. It's a weird peripheral for the Atari 2600.
Yeah, the best way to describe it is it's kind of like a 32X style peripheral that was made back in the day to enhance the capabilities of the Atari 2600.
And what's it called?
The StarPath SuperCharger.
SuperCharger. And the cool thing about this is that, and this is what blew my mind, is that you get games and play games from cassette.
Yep.
That's such an early 80s thing, isn't it?
It was, and it was nice because cassettes were readily available at the time, and essentially the games actually did look better.
Yeah, they did. So we're going to show that off, as well as I think all the games, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Got 'em all.
This is going to be a cool video. Let's take a look. All right, man. So this is a really weird looking sort of a device, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's strange. I mean, it's like an elongated cartridge with a cable coming out, and so you would stick this into your system.
Like, so here's like an old school, Sanyo Walkman.
Yep.
And you would plug it in the top there, and we just happen to have this is like a Homebrew, right? This is so grab your cassette, which has your game on it, pop it in there,
stick that into the phone jack, and press play. Yeah, that's funky. Yeah. Well, not funky to people old like us, but yeah.
Actually, my first Commodore 64, I didn't have a disc drive. I had a cassette drive. It wasn't quite like this, but it was something very similar. And all the games I had for it were on cassette. It took forever to load them. It was brutal.
Yeah, loading, by the way, is when you're waiting for a game a long time.
Yeah. I used to be able to go watch a television show and come back and my game would be almost loaded. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, nowadays games are fast, but back then they could take minutes.
Now, what's really interesting about this device is that it really increases the RAM. Actually, I was reading about it, and the original Atari had like 128 bytes of storage that you could like put in in a game or games could use, where this would almost increase it like 50 times. It was
up to like 6,000.
6 bytes or something, or kilobytes or something like that. So it was significant. Well, then I think we should take a look at some of the games.
Let's go check it out.
Okay. All right, dude. So the first thing I noticed here is that there were, what, 12?
12 release games, 10 in packages, 2 by mail order only.
And what's really cool about this is that they're numbered on the spines.
Yep.
So it's very easy when you're a collector, if you have 1, 3, and 7 or whatever, that you need like these other ones in there. So you seem to have them all.
Yes.
Why am I shocked?
I got lucky on a Craigslist score and collected these a while ago, but I was intrigued because it was different.
Yeah.
And
well, so let's take a look at some of these. So number 1, this is the very first release game, right?
Yeah. So number 1 was Phaser Patrol.
Okay. And
it was packaged. I mean, obviously, they had to package the peripheral with something, and Phaser Patrol was that game.
Oh, I see. Okay. Now it's a bigger box than normal, and it looks like kind of like a Star Raiders, kind of Star Master space sim kind of game, right?
Yes. And the actual SuperCharger is bundled inside.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Cool. Awesome. And then number 2 here, going down.
Oh, yeah.
One of the coolest names of a game. Actually, I love the cover of this.
Yeah, this is Communist Mutants from Space.
Awesome name.
And just your traditional space shooter, plays in the vein of like Phoenix or Demon Attack with good graphics.
Yeah, really impressive graphics very smooth. That's definitely one of the things that you'll sort of know here or see in the footage. Is a lot of these games that kind of may be based on other franchises on the Atari, but they look really good.
Ton of space games on Atari, but this one stands out because it does everything solid.
Yeah,
I like that. One of my more preferred StarPath games.
Now this next game has one of the coolest covers of any of them because it reminds me of like an old Journey album cover.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah, it's streaming.
Fireball.
Journey. Yeah, that looks like a Journey album that never came out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And what's this game like?
Breakout.
Oh.
So yeah.
This is the one where you catch them, right?
Yep.
This is hard.
Yeah, it's Breakout, and to be honest, it's not as fun as Breakout, but there's a lot going on. Interesting.
Yeah, totally. Worth it for the cover.
Correct. Next one is Suicide Mission, also known as Asteroids.
Now, this one's pretty interesting because it's kind of got the vector-like graphics on the Atari.
Yeah, before a lot of the hacks, this was trying to go for an arcade-style Asteroids with very little flicker, and at the time, it was very, very impressive.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like it, you know?
Yes.
This next one is a game that I tried to play. It's called Escape
from the Mine Master.
Another great B-movie title right there, right?
Yeah.
But it's first person, and the scrolling was actually pretty smooth for the Atari.
Yeah, look, part scrolling, part 3D maze, part puzzle.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what was going on.
Yeah. After a couple beers, we were ready to move on.
Totally. Dragon Stomper.
Yeah, this is a really good game.
Awesome cover too.
Yeah, it's very involved early RPG, kind of part rogue, part like a more advanced version of adventure with more to it, with a scrolling screen.
Yeah.
If I played this back in the day, I would be like in my room all day long playing this over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, there weren't a lot of really in-depth RPGs on the 2600 that I'm aware of. I mean, most games were very simple. They would never even attempt something like this.
Yeah, this was very advanced for its time. I'd probably the best game on the library of these style games.
Cool. Okay, so moving on
All
here.
Right. Killer Satellites. Yeah, my box is a little jacked up, but that's okay. Worms got to it. This game is, I would say, describe it as a kind of a poor Defender. It plays like Defender, not as fun as Defender, but looks better than Defender.
It does. It doesn't have the flicker of the original Defender, which I remember as a kid. Like, I still played it and loved it, but this is definitely an improvement.
You could really tell that this game, they were going for that, too, of like, we want to make a Defender-style game without any of that terrible flicker.
Yeah.
Next one, Rabbit Transit.
I thought this game was kind of cool.
Yeah, seeing it played, it's like a cross between with like a reverse Frogger and Q*bert.
Yeah, and actually, I was kind of getting into it. I mean, the controls are definitely a little funky, trying to get on the Q*bert part, but Q*bert games are always a little weird, to kind of control. But I don't know, I liked it quite a bit. So.
Yeah, unique premise. It definitely, again, another game to show like a lot of characters on the screen, no flicker,
right,
and a lot of animation.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yep, good stuff. All right, next one of my favorite on the entire library.
Yeah, so when we were capturing footage for this, John was like, you got to try the old Parker Brothers version first, just to kind of remind yourself what most people played, like me. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember, the old Frogger game. It's like it kind of jumps along. It's Frogger, but it's very stripped down.
Yes, rudimentary Frogger. This
blew me away.
Yeah, it's really close to the arcade.
Yeah.
It's night and day graphically better than the other Frogger, and
it feels more like the traditional Frogger with the animation and the way it moves. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And
it's a program, concept, and packaging pursuant to sub-license from Sierra Online.
That is.
Dun, dun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is a donation to my collection. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
How hard is this to find?
This is pretty tough. Box complete and everything. I've seen it go for a couple $100.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's valuable. Again, it's pretty hard to get, but it's worth it.
Yeah. If you're a Frogger fan and you want the definitive version for the 2600, this seems like it.
Yes, I totally recommend playing this version of Frogger on the Atari. It's so much better.
Cool.
Party Mix. Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking when I was playing it, and the best way to describe it was a very early casual multiplayer game. You can do multiple different events. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
It's not. No, not my favorite.
So that's up to number 10.
Yes.
So at that point, were they sort of done, or what happened after that?
So from what I read is that it was sold to Epics.
Oh, okay.
And so the after that, they did a couple mail order games, and
Without boxes, though.
without boxes. You can get aftermarket packaging for this, but there are 2 different releases that actually through mail. Sword of Saros, and with the manual. And the manual and the tape are really hard to get hand in hand.
I can imagine most people who got this in the mail, you would keep the cassette and probably lose the manual, you know. And plus, the manual's not like that exciting looking. I mean, it's pretty basic, so I would imagine unless you need it, you just tossed it.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's
which is sad.
Yeah, ultra collectors out there probably cut the packaging in the bag and everything like that too. You have to mention that. So,
oh yeah. I'm just saying, me personally, as a young kid, I probably would have, you know,
Chuck, get that out of there. Yeah, this was again another early rudimentary like maze / early rogue RPG. I actually liked Dragon Stomper better, and I think because there was an overworld and stuff. This was more in a more traditional maze, and you would unlock rooms and treasures and collect stuff, and I didn't like it as much.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but yeah, you know.
The next game, though, is very interesting and probably one of the most original concepts I've seen actually on most 2600 games, and that was Survival Island. And essentially what you're doing, you're swimming towards an island, and you have a life meter and a distance meter. And so there's random items appearing where you have to collect to, you know, get a raft.
Like from the Crash, it seems like, or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Castaway, the 2600 game.
Yeah.
So
and it's cool. It's like got this little, it's not a Loch Ness monster, but it's something that's basically chasing you. It pops its head up, and you kind of have to avoid it for a little while. And
yeah, and the farther you progress towards the island actually gets bigger. Yeah. So it's like early scaling.
Oh yeah, I mean, watching it was like, oh man, we got to see if we can get to the island. Like it was definitely cool.
Yeah, I definitely would have played it back in the day.
Cool.
Pretty original.
All right, dude. So those are the official releases, but some people do homebrews, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and not the first homebrew, but there was recently a homebrew made, and what it is it's a KC Monster Maze,
which is based on a
Odyssey and Bitpack KC Munchkin.
Okay,
and it's a port, which is not a direct version of KC Munchkin, but it plays a lot like it, and so a programmer pretty much made an ever-running maze-style game on the 2600, and pretty impressive graphically, you know, for a homebrew game, and especially a Star Pass Supercharger game. It's very impressive.
Now, okay, so a lot of these, especially complete in box, are really hard to get a hold of. And myself, I don't know if I'll ever end up with a collection quite like yours, but there are options, right, for people who want to jump into it, but maybe like do emulation or something. There's
a couple different ways I'm going to show you. One way is that there was back in 1996. Stella gets a new brain, and what it was all the Star Path Supercharger games on CD. And so you can easily, there's ways out there to get them to be put on CDs, because your Supercharger works with this compact disc player, which might be a little bit more readily available.
Oh, so these are actually in there. So when you say compact disc, I mean, this is an audio disc that you would play on a Sony Discman.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then it works just the same way.
Okay.
And you can use your original 2600 and a Supercharger to still play all the Supercharger games that are on this disc.
Oh, okay.
The one cool thing about this, there was two different runs. The second run had a couple extra features on it, including Sweat, which was the third game that was unreleased and unfinished. It was kind of a decathlon style game. It's on this compilation.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty cool. But, you know, again, this is still pretty obscure, because even this release homage to the Supercharger is almost 20 years old.
I know, it's crazy.
So let's talk about one more relevant. Get one of these.
This is what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, these are expensive and worth every penny.
And it's a Harmony
card.
Okay.
Yep. Essentially, it is pretty much a SD card. Put it in here, and you play your Atari games on original hardware.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. And so there's a bunch of websites, or you go to an expo and people sell these things like that.
Yep, there is a website, and like I said, I totally recommend. This is the definitive way to play 2600 games, especially if you're YouTubing or capturing, or I'd highly recommend it.
You know, I guess the thing for me with this whole thing here is that I thought I knew that the Atari 2600, it was my first console. I had crap loads of games for it. And then literally decades later, I learned that there's a whole other world out there that I just had no idea. That's what I love about collecting games and digging into people's collections. It was awesome.
Well, yeah, and I've been collecting this stuff for 20 years, and I'm still ever learning. I'll never know everything, and I'm far from knowing everything, and I'm still learning as I go. And it's nice, to just talk about this stuff because, getting to talk about it on camera is, definitely a way of re-exploring favorite games that I haven't played in a while.
Yeah,
love it.
It's definitely cool. All right, man. I want to thank you very much for bringing your awesome collection over here and bringing your SuperCharger with you.
That's right.
So awesome. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you guys have one of these? Are you thinking about collecting it? I'd love to know. That'd be very cool. I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thanks very much for subscribing, and take care.